In the beginning, megaphones were simply cone-shaped devices that focused sound forward so it went further and could be heard more clearly. In the 20th century, microphones, an amplifier, and a speaker were added to the cone, and that really ramped up the volume. With a megaphone, there's no need to shout. Just speak and you will be heard. This waterproof version is designed for coaching, law enforcement, and military uses. Production starts with a panel of 4 digital circuit boards that have little gold pads on them. An assembler places a stencil over the panel and aligns the stencil holes with the gold pads. He then squeegees solder paste down the stencil and it flows onto the exposed gold pads. This is before and after the solder paste application. Robotic arms install electrical components on the solder-coated pads, creating circuitry. Various reels unwind to deliver these little parts. The robotic arms suction them off liners and transfer them to precise locations on the boards. The parts will run the megaphone's sirens, horns, and microphones. A technician clamps one of the completed circuit boards in a tester. Spring-loaded pins underneath make electrical contacts with the components and probe their performance. The system runs a full test of the circuitry. At the next station, an assembler attaches a part known as the front can to the end of a flared speaker cone. He then turns his attention to the speaker. The assembler inserts screws in the base. He threads wires from the speaker through a hole in the cone and through the front can. The assembler then places the speaker in the cone and he screws it in place. He attaches a connector to the protruding speaker wires. The worker places a mesh metal screen over a hole in the rear can. The assembler taps a nut driver with a hammer to force the mesh into the hole, and this shapes the mesh into a microphone cover. He removes the newly formed mic cover and fits it to the mic, manually crimping it around the sides for a snug fit. He now tucks the microphone into a tube that has a sliding inner sleeve. The assembler inserts the tube into the microphone hole in the rear can. He slides the inside tube down to push the microphone in the hole. He secures the knob for turning the megaphone on and for adjusting the volume. The assembler installs a mini circuit board that's linked to the siren and horn button. These small spring pins will mate to a battery to power the megaphone circuitry. He tucks the pins into molded protrusions inside the rear can and waterproofs them with rubber O-rings. This megaphone subassembly is now ready for the main circuit board. The assembler threads wires for the switch trigger, microphone, siren, and horn through holes in the board. He then screws the board to the rear housing. He fits a silicone O-ring around the rim of the rear can to seal it. The assembler then joins the rear can with all the working parts to the front can and cone assembly. He connects the speaker wires to the circuit board. This megaphone is now ready for a sound test. The technician connects it to a temporary battery and powers it up.
Check, 1, 2, 1, 2, check, testing, testing, 1, 2, check.
More sensitive testing is needed. He encloses the megaphone in an insulated chamber to shut out background noises. A computer runs the megaphone at different frequencies and analyzes its performance. Once the megaphone passes these tests, they install handles. And now it's ready for anything you have to say.